Okay.
Mitch, I was on the phone with Debbie and I said, Deb, whoops, I just got this text from Mitch. I totally forgot it's Wednesday.
There you go.
Who else knows what day of the week it is? Mitch, happy Hanukkah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, happy Hanukkah.
And who else? Wendy. Wendy, happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
I see a pretty tree behind you, Patrick.
All set? Okay. All righty. Okay, I'm Mitch Goldblatt, and we're going to call I'm chairman of the Orange Recycling Committee. We're going to call the December 16th Orange Recycling Committee meeting to order. It is 7:14, and I see members of our committee tonight. We have Mark Moyer, Patrick Legault, Loretta Smith, Karen Della Justina, and Wendy Novick are all here today. And at this point, I don't see anybody from the public. So if there's nobody from the public, we can't have any public input. So I'm going to move on to review and approve the minutes of the November 19th, 2020 meeting. Everyone should have received the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections?
Great job, Loretta.
And Loretta, thank
Oh,
you
I
for
forgot.
filling in that time. Yes, thank you. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Additions or corrections, or is there a motion to approve as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Mark, seconded by Karen. If there's no one, any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Okay, treasurer's report. We have one invoice I want to discuss, but Mark, go ahead.
Yep, we have one invoice for Fast Signs, but there was no other activity in the past month, so we're still at a balance of $1,962.38 pending.
Okay, so let me explain the Fast Signs invoice. At our last meeting or meeting before, I've lost track, we decided to have, well, first of all, we approved those extra signage at the transfer station for the no bags and directing people to the shed for the plastic wraps and bags. I got a phone call that one of the signs that was on the railing had the strap or whatever had broken off, and I called Steve Selby from Fast Signs and asked him if he wouldn't mind coming out to fix it. He says no problem, it shouldn't have happened. He thinks somebody hit it, but he went out there and fixed it without a problem. But while he was there, he noticed that the cardboard sign was broken, and he suggested, he said, would you like me to fix it? And I said, yes, absolutely, want to get that back up. So Mark, the amount of the invoices for what, for fixing that sign?
I think it was like $54.95. I don't know the exact amount, but it was about that.
Okay, I think I sent it out. I don't have it in front of me, but I think that sounds about right. Wasn't that much, but it was to fix and reaffix the sign for cardboard to the pole, put the pole back up. And he did that like in a day or two. So I was very thankful to him for doing that. So I want a motion to approve the invoice for Fast Signs.
A motion.
Karen makes a motion. Is there a second? Second, Loretta. Is there any further discussion about that?
Yes.
Yep.
Why do we have cardboard?
No, it's a sign. It's the sign for the cardboard
Oh, for the
recycling.
cardboard.
For the
Okay,
cardboard, yes.
sorry. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries once again unanimously. Okay, next up is the update on the residential recycling rates. We got the information from Sylvie and Public Works. Had a really good month of November. We collected 87.92 tons of recycling, and that's one of the better months of the entire year. 11.2% above last year's November rate, and still leaves us with a slightly, that's after a bad October, so things seem to balance out. So over the year, with 1 month to go, we're running 3.6% ahead of last year. So it's a better trend that we're seeing, which is a good thing with recycling. Any questions about that? If not, we'll move on. I've got a new report for you to view every month because I've been in touch pretty regularly for reasons, other reasons we'll get into later, with Sonny Wilkins from Simple Recycling, and he's been providing me with numbers and Sylvie with numbers to back up our Simple Recycling efforts. And you can see the month of September we just got started at the very end of September, so there's a low number there. But the first full month was October. We collected over 11,000 pounds at the Simple Recycling trailer and drop-off bin together. And then in November, it ticked up a bit to over 12,000 pounds. And the return to the town has already been over $1,400.
Wow.
So,
Great.
you know, we've gone from nothing to $1,400 in 2 months. I know when we started the program, there was a lot of skepticism about collecting 100,000 pounds of materials over a year, but you know, certainly the winter months will drop off the number we've seen, but I think it's certainly possible that we can collect 100,000 pounds in a year. So I mean,
That rug was heavy today, Mitch.
good. So that's all good news.
Great. That's great news.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. This was all your idea. You're doing, right, Mitch?
Mhm.
Well, we're trying to get the word out there. We're trying to get the
Well,
word
it's
out there.
fabulous.
Well, we thank Loretta, you're doing a great job in the articles too, although I spoke to somebody the other day who had no idea about the Dropbox at the High Plains because they don't read the paper. I said we had a big picture in the paper of it.
Yes, yes. But you know, speaking of that Dropbox, may I say something?
We're going to get to that under old business, if you don't
Oh,
mind.
sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So starting with old business, the first thing I've got is the plastic shed at the transfer station. Chris couldn't be here tonight. He'd been trying to reach Matt at the Home Depot. I actually ran into him at the Home Depot the other night by coincidence and asked him, are we still on your schedule? He goes, absolutely. The funds are just still being frozen. It really has to do with Home Depot asserting all their efforts towards helping the pandemic, which I think is understandable at this point still. We are on, I don't know if we're at the top of the list, but we're near the top of the list so that when funds get released towards community projects, they will still, we're still on their docket for a more permanent shed for the plastic recycling at the transfer station, the plastic bag and wrap recycling. But as of right now, the shed is still holding. Hopefully it holds under the snow we're getting tonight.
Hopefully it'll be powdery.
And maybe as long as powdery's light, that's good. It may be maybe filled with snow because the doors aren't there anymore, but we'll see.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, so that's where we stand with that. So we're still, I won't say on schedule because we're way behind schedule with that based on what they said, but we do have the plastic bag. It seems to be an amazing amount of, even with the plastic bag ban, we are, every time I go there, there's still just so much plastic wrap and plastic bags, and people are actually using it tremendously. And I think
Great.
I even had a discussion with Jerry on one Saturday. I was there later in the day, and he said, and I got there the rack and pack was absolutely full. So I said to him, do you have another bag? He goes, he came out with one for me. I tied up the one that was filled. And of course, as people don't understand, we do put that with the rest of the recycling because once it's in the big bag like that, it can be separated at Oak Ridge. And he came up with the bag for me. And he says, this is the third one today.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I remember when we first started this, talking to Dan McGowan, who was the head of the transfer station in Brantford. And he said, we go through a bag about once every 2 weeks. You know, I thought that was good. So we're doing tremendous with that. I think we'll be in for more bags soon. Okay, so old business again, back to simple recycling at the transfer station. There have been some issues at the transfer station that I think are finally resolved. Number one issue was the signage on the side of the trailer. Simple wanted to do it themselves to save some money. And they did save money. They put some very powerful magnets, but the powerful magnets are still no match for the winds that rip through the top of the transfer station. So the sign had blown off. The sign was reaffixed. Then I said, you guys have got to affix that permanently. They put rivets in at the top of the sign and not the whole thing. So it was still blowing, plus magnets. I'm not sure if it's been, they've put more rivets in the bottom yet, but last time I was there this past Saturday, it seemed to be doing okay. So the signage is there, and it really hits you. If you go to the hopper and you look straight ahead, because your car is usually facing that way, the sign is right there to tell you exactly what goes in that trailer, which is great. Which leads me to the next problem, which I think I filled some of you in on about. I got a message from the first selectman that there was some issues with Simple clearing out the bin. And what Simple does is, as I understand it, unlike Goodwill, who would come once in a blue moon with a big truck and clean everything out, Simple comes with a van and cleans out what they can, and then comes back a couple days later and cleans out what they can. And it's never being fully emptied, which was bothersome to some of the people working at the transfer station. In addition, at the same time, there was some very large objects placed in the trailer, including a huge armoire, as well as a very large television. And Simple could not only won't they take those items, they couldn't move them. So they sat there for probably a week or two, at which point there was some consternation about that happening. So I called Sonny once again. He's on speed dial. He still takes my calls, which is amazing. And within a couple of days, with help from the people at the transfer station, they removed the armoire, which I believe just unfortunately got scrapped. The TV was moved to the electronics recycling. The entire bin was cleaned out. The cardboard bins that they were using inside there that weren't holding up very well have been replaced by some metal, like lattice kind of metal bins. And I think things are good. I haven't heard complaints since.
Nope, the sign was up today.
Okay.
They had the lattice bins, and it was pretty neat in there. Everything was in the bins, and it seemed to be moving smoothly, because I
Right.
put something in there today.
Great.
Good.
And they are picking up at least twice, if not 3 times a week. So it's really working out well, and they're pleased. And I think, and speaking with Sonny, it's possible that when A, the weather breaks, meaning we go into springtime, and B, the pandemic breaks, which is hopefully springtime, they may be looking to do this similar type of setup with other transfer stations. That's their call, but they're going to use us as a model, which if they do go forward with that, I think that's great.
Mitch, quick question. So when they're coming 2-3 times a week, where are they coming from? Because this is like an Ohio company, isn't it? Like, where are they?
It is an Ohio company. They have, they deliver their goods, I believe, to Stanford, somewhere in Lower Fairfield County.
Okay.
I believe it's Stanford, but they still have the residential pickup in Milford 4 days a week, like they were doing with us. The reason, I think I've been through this before, but for people who may be watching OGAT and hearing this for the first time, the reason they're able to do the residential pickup still in Milford is twofold. One is they're not paying anything for it. So it's just whatever residents put out. Second of all, the main thing is the fact that Milford has its own municipal pickup. So Milford will flag where the pink bags are. So they don't race all over town, up and down every street looking for bags. They know exactly where to go. They know exactly this address, and they pick up on the same day as people put out their recycling. So the good news for us is, as long as it continues in Milford, they have vans in Milford 4 days a week, at which time that van, if it's, whenever it's either not full or they send the van back this way, the vans, they'll come over to the Orange Transfer Station as a regular part of as part of the route. And so that's what they're doing. They're also, and that leads me to the next thing. They are also coming to High Plains, as well. The issue with High Plains is the fact that they're getting a very, very low yield from High Plains. So I encourage people to talk that up. We've had an article in the paper with a picture, which is great. I think the numbers there are picking up, but it's still somewhat lower than they expected. Loretta, you wanted to say something about that before, so I cut you off. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's okay. I was just so surprised that it was placed behind the building where nobody sees them, in spite of the fact that we have a picture in the newspaper and your neighbor even didn't see it. So, you have to read the newspaper to know that we do have one there. Can't we move that up front somewhere? Can't we move it like over by, where do they put other things, like their trash cans and everything? Can't we move it there?
So it's close to the trash cans, but
I don't mean those big things in back. I mean, like if you're at the fair and things.
there
But the
are
pavilions.
there is another trash receptacle, a smaller one on the side of the pavilion, and that would be a great spot for it, right in the back of that pavilion, which people use all year round, and they'll see it.
They'll see it. You drive up, you leave your stuff, you drive off. It's a perfect place.
How's the committee feel about that? Do you think it leads to issues, or do you want the committee to try to address that with first simple, because they'll have to move it, and second of all, I guess the first selectman or High Plains to see if they'll allow it to be moved to a different spot?
I think if it can be moved to a more prominent area, because, right now it seems like it's floundering, and either we just need to keep publicizing it, or maybe we need to put some sort of sign out front on the lawn saying new simple recycling bin in the back, please use. I don't know.
I'm not sure I want to put more signage up, but Karen?
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best spot, because I pulled up there and put some stuff in there, and I was kind of double parked because I had to park behind people. And then somebody took a picture of me. It was like, it made me think, well, now I'm annoying people. So it's probably not the best place to put it. If they can think of someplace else where you wouldn't have to double park or walk across a parking lot to empty everything out.
I think Loretta's idea has a lot of merit to it, over by where that other dumpster is. Still, I know there's a feeling they don't want it being necessarily prominent from the road, but yet I think to be more accessible, I think it's a good idea. I mean, look, it's not our call, but we can certainly make the request. So, Loretta, you want to? Go ahead. Loretta?
Yeah, I would suggest putting it behind the pavilion, next to the parking lot, but behind the pavilion, so it wouldn't be so prominently seen. Or else,
but it's much more easily accessible there. I think that's Karen's point is well taken.
Exactly. Or what is that building in the back? Are those bathrooms back there, that little building?
Yeah, that's way back there. Yeah, but we can, all right, so is there?
Yeah, I think the transfer station is nice because it's like one-stop shopping, right? You go there, you get recyclables, you get your trash, and you get a simple recycling.
And that's great. And by having it at High Plains, first of all, High Plains, you can't put any large items. It's, it's a typical drop in for clothes. They really want the clothes and shoes there. But what it does do by having it High Plains, there's two things. There is a significant population of town that does not use the transfer station. That has, the residential, they pay for residential trash pickup. They put their recycling bin out, and once in a blue moon, they might go to the transfer station, maybe to go to recycle things, but more.
God, it's the highlight of my week going there.
I know. I know, Pat. It's a big deal.
It's liberating.
For you, it is, but for a lot of people, it's not. So
right.
What I'm saying is, there's